So our project is called On the Way, and it's a tour generating application for Dublin 8, and our aim is to present a tour of Dublin 8 that is conducive to leisurely exploration and social interaction. So our team composed of Gunduz, myself, Stephen and Neil. So in week 2, these were our initial presentations. So Gunduz presented something with city portals, so looking through an interactive screen to maybe another part of the city, or would it update with information. My presentation was on a wayfinding tour, and Neil's was a history tour. So all those mixed together, we came up with our project. So we condensed our area within the Liberties, then the wider Dublin 8. So the inner city Liberties was where we chose. The area has a long and rich history of settlement with a strong Indigenous community, as well as more recent settlers with a diverse mix of student, immigrants and young professionals. It is among one of the most historic places in Dublin, and is visited annually by thousands, hundreds and thousands of people. So tourism holds enormous potential for development in the area. So it's not only heterogeneous in its population, but also in its built fabric. So here's the red, it's residential, and which sits up alongside huge industrial of Diageo and the digital hub, and then commercial in yellow and blue in social buildings. So we looked at we tried to gain an objective look at it. So we looked at the problems of the Liberties. So neglect and dereliction would be a huge problem, born from the boom years where properties were bought up and then run into the ground, so then they could be developed. Traffic, one of the main arteries, Thomas Street, is wide and isn't pedestrian friendly, so it's hard to cross, and it's wide compared to the pavements. There's poor signage in Mead Street and antisocial behaviour, and these kind of three things, the dereliction, neglect, the signage, and the antisocial behaviour, all kind of for a visitor kind of join together to a sense of anxiety, but it's hidden. So all the gems and the endearing qualities of the Liberties are not readily available or known about, and then it's underutilised. So it's like a National College for Art and Design within our area, but you'd expect to see more smaller craft stores and cafes done with this. So pros, it is a huge culture. IMA, the National Museum, history of the Liberties is the history of Dublin. It started there from the 9th century through huge changes. Creative, NCAD. Innovative is the digital hub. It's commercial. It has two of 4 streets in Dublin that on-street marketing and traders are allowed. So Mead Street and Thomas Street. And architecture. It shows the grain of the medieval right through in the shapes of the streets and the widths of the streets, and it also has one of the most intact 19th century streetscapes. And as you go down towards James's Street, it changes more to a village type, so there's nice period properties. So this is just a timeline of the main events in the Liberties. So huge industry, from brewing to weaving and textiles. Guinness is a huge dominating factor within the Liberties. And then there's just some old pictures, the old Latin before it was replaced in Brabazon Square. So there's a huge problem. We have this influx of thousands, hundred thousands of people going to Guinness, and coming up from the west, east. So Grafton Street, the cathedrals and Trinity. But there's a lack of wayfinding, and you often see people confused, like Guinness is in this no man's land. And then moving on, there's more on the other side. So our application is to make people stop and linger within Thomas Street. So we looked at precedents, DCC walks, which came out mid-project, Shush, Wikitude, and Lair. So we're using augmented reality, so we're looking at precedents that include this. But why this is our wireframe of our project? But why is our app different from these? We take into consider the user's mood. We have local stories incorporated. Our information is tailored, so unlike Wikitude, we've taken the main points so it's easily digestible while you're walking around, and includes events. So we looked at user profiles, and we focused on Anna, who is a backpacker visiting Dublin. So she's fluent English, she wants to see offbeat things to do in Dublin City, but she also wants to see the main attractions, and she's confident. So this is our app. It's called On the Way. So you enter your destination, you click your mood, and it will generate a route for you. So we have history, food, culture. So this would be one of our stops, our points of interest, Vicar Street. One of our story spots, which we linked to Story Map, but could be linked to the vignettes from Area Man Productions on the Liberties, which are on YouTube, and other things like the Lady on the Rock video. So all these kind of, and then historical. So we use augmented reality, old images overlaid on what you're looking at through the camera, so you get information. And so Gunduz is going to talk about the tech.
Okay. This is the technical bit. We think about embracing the open protocols such as OpenStreetMap and ARML, KML, which are backed by World Wide Web Consortium. And these protocols and flows will enable us to obtain this feature set. There are three aspects of the client side that are content generation, a third-party integration, and the handset clients that are in-house built. And yeah, they are all going to communicate through these above mentioned protocols. And for these are some wireframes for content generation. They are based on OpenStreetMap APIs and interfaces. And we got some estimations for commercial development. Besides those, this project can be run as an open source project and be built by a community of volunteered developers as well. And yeah, these are the possible revenue strategies and how to maintain these efforts. And yeah.
So we tried to generate a business plan, and I took a quote from the Thomas Street study by the Civic Trust, and it says, interactive phone app could be developed to highlight the wealth of attractions in the area and to encourage visitors to linger and explore the liberties, expanding visitors' experience of the area. We recognise that this proposal comes at a time of considerable national economic difficulties and diminishing resources. But cultural tourism is recognised as one of the key industries driving our economic recovery, and a historic area such as the Liberties should be at the forefront of our efforts to attract and retain visitors to the city. So this diagram shows the stakeholders of the area, and the solid boxes are potential partners. So we could link in with the gathering and link in with Dublin and Dublin Bikes, which is now expanding to the Liberties. So our take-home message is we want people to be taken aback and surprised by our presentation of the Liberties, to see new things, and we want to highlight the highlights.